For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now more than ever, it's important for you and your family to enjoy the spaces you're in most often. Visit FergusonShowrooms.com to shop online or schedule a personalized consultation to meet with our experts at your local Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery. Together we'll help you make the most of home and create a space you'll love to live in. Get started on your project and discover extraordinary products like the Orizo chandelier from Progress Lighting.
Geek Vibes Live is rated G for geek.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing Geek Vibes Live interview. I'm your host, Tia, and I have with me such a special guest with me today. I am so excited to introduce you all to the one and only Ian McShane. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Tia. Good morning.
Very good morning. Yes, Ian's in wonderful California right now, so I'm quite jealous about that, but he's very kind to speak with us today. We only have one more episode left of American Gods Season 3. Episode 9 was just, wow. Please walk us through, just the intensity of Episode 9 and that insane conclusion between Mr. Wednesday and Laura Moon.
Well, we had to get the action sooner or later. We've been threatening war for 3 years. And finally it came, and Laura's the one that stopped it. I like the fact that they, unlike the book, and people seem obsessed sometimes by talking about the book, the TV show, the book, how far away from the book. It's a book of ideas. So the TV show is, some people didn't like some of the ideas. I think one of the better ones was to have Laura as a constant presence and a constant irritant to Mr. Wednesday, even though they only met in briefly episode series 1 and then series 2, but to have her to be the reason of Wednesday's demise. But on the other hand, how do you know that Wednesday didn't plan this anyway? But it was all, well, don't forget he organized her death or her semi-death. He didn't know that Shadow had a wife, so he had to get rid of her for Shadow to fulfill all the things that Wednesday wants him to. But she would never die properly. So maybe it's kind of like it's time, and all his other plans have fallen apart. His plans for Demeter didn't work out. His plans for Ashley, we don't know about those, but he gave her the amulet before he goes downstairs to meet his death in the astronomy room. There's all sorts of Wednesday, is waiting after the disappointment that Tyr tried to kill his son Shadow. He went out there and killed Tyr in the Battle of the Gods or whatever, mythical, then came out to Earth and told Shadow to carry on. Don't forget to ditch the car. He had things to do. And the next time you see him, he's in a restaurant, depressed, because things haven't worked out. So he's decided. But is that a con too? Is that a con on Wednesday's behalf? Because Wednesday always wants himself to be more interesting than maybe he is at any one particular time. But he's the one that keeps all the wheels in motion. And who's to say that that Mr. World isn't a manifestation of his other son, Loki, the Joker, Loki, the trickster. And there's all sorts of questions you can ask yourself. And you ask yourself after episode 9, because as you said, there's a certain amount of, and I hope it came across that Wednesday's sort of half welcoming the spear, the same, throw off these mortal shackles and let me, go back to where I belong, rebreathe. And will then, in episode 10, will Shadow take the responsibility and sacrifice himself for his dad? Will he sit vigil? Because one of the first things Wednesday ever said to Shadow was, you will do this, and you will sit vigil for me if anything happens to me. And now he's dead. And now will he sit vigil?
First of all, I love what you said about, is this another con by Mr. Wednesday? Because you never know. Mr. Wednesday is full of tricks up his sleeves. And you also said something about how, people kind of seem very married to the book, what happens in the book. And me personally, I loved season 2. You had said in an interview prior to the season coming out, I believe, that season 2 is very underloved. How do you feel that season 2 was underloved, but how do you feel that season 3 is being received by people?
I don't know. I haven't really checked. I mean, it's very difficult to check, in this, with what's been going on the last year, how people are reacting or if they're watching it. I don't know the numbers, but I mean, I always felt that, because of the reaction the show had originally, it's a much loved book, which was finally, after much effort and sweat, was finally being brought to the television screens by a studio. Would they have the right sort of, would they have the right attitude towards the book, Brian and Michael Green, and season 1? And I thought season 1 was just getting on track. I thought we got, as I said before, I think it was a little overpraised. Some of it we were finding our feet. Season 2, for other reasons, whatever went on because of the departure of Michael and Brian, for whatever reasons, you'll never find that one out. No matter how close you are to Michael, Brian, or the people at Fremantle and Starz, things happen in life, and things happen. And then, you're saying that season 2 had to happen, but had to happen with a new showrunner, difficult circumstances. What shape was the show going to have for season 2? We decided to make it. It was in the middle of, when did we shoot? We shot it in 2018. And we had a lot of, I thought, very interesting discussions about diversity and ethnicity during the show. It may have been a little heavy for some people, but that's the way it is. I do miss the character of Orlando's character from the show. I mean, that's one reason, but who knows? If they decide to do a season 4, maybe they'll bring him back for that. You never know if he'd wanted to come back. TV shows are very difficult, and especially with one such as this, which has got such a following, and people who believe that they actually are the only ones who know what the show should be like. The show can take any forms. Season 3, I think, has tried to make more of Shadow, which is what I think was one of the great difficulties of adapting the book, is making the character, and this has got nothing to do with the actor. Ricky's done a fine job with Shadow, but making the character, who is basically a protagonist, but a questioning protagonist, questioning himself half the time. So when you've got that, who am I? Where am I? Why am I doing this? And they needed to get away from Mr. Wednesday. I think they've done that in season 3. They've put Wednesday on the road with Cordelia. And who is Cordelia? She doesn't happen by accident, even though she's a character not from the book. But we decided to make her somebody that will perhaps become more interesting as we go on. It's Wednesday's girl Friday, but even she is not just at random. I mean, he gives her his amulet in episode 9. But Shadow has to take center stage, which I think he's done more in season 3. Become his own man, living on his own, living in Lakeside, which presents its own problems. And Wednesday comes back and says, it's time you came with me for the final push, or whatever. I mean, it's a difficult show, balancing people's expectations with what a writer sees and how he wants to expand the characters, at the same time remaining true to the story of the show. And the show is basically about ideas. It's about, it's about that overwhelming religion is not the best thing in the world. It's like the questions that Christopher Hitchens asked constantly about, saying, why should all the 3 main religions, they all worship the same God and they all hate each other? Well, that's not much good. But are you better off having sort of individual gods sometimes, saying thank you very much. Oh, the tulips were really nice this year. Thank you to the god of flowers. I'll put a little something on the side. These are quirks of individual people, but people are people. They're not mass, but you all get into a church together, it becomes a different thing. rather than a farmer, maybe cutting his finger and letting a little blood go into the soil, a sacrifice. They all talk about that. Or for the coming months, for the coming season, may the weather not destroy everything. So the gods originally came across with, people brought their gods with them. They brought the good ones. But the tendency is that over the last 400 years, they've forgotten about them. And they now only believe in the myth of the evangelical church or the Baptist church or the church of, whatever it means, the church of Scientology, for Christ's sake, whatever, or any other mass religion, instead of focusing on more on the little things, be nice to your individual gods, they'll be nicer to you. Maybe you'll have a better life, It doesn't consist of you, God is not watching you all the time. It's been an interesting show. I mean, interesting ideas.
It's this idea of people who have such a connection to God's religions. And we see Shadow having such a connection with Wednesday, which is what made season 3 so nice, as you said, him going off and being his own man. But then we also see Wednesday able to have his connections with other people other than Shadow, such as with Cordelia, with Tyr. What was it like working with, say, Ashley Reyes and Dennis O'Hare?
Oh, it's lovely, Ashley. Ashley's a very gifted. She'd only ever done stage. This is her first adventures in the screen trade, as we say. And she was terrific to work with. And we work, when you work with somebody close together, you say, what do you want to do? Get some ideas. And I wanted to impress on her from the start that as two characters that, she believes, she's wondering all the time, how did I get this gig? What did I do? All I know is paying for this and is doing this, and these strange things come up. But if she's open-minded, but she is more than she is. She is more, it's not revealed yet, but that's, as I said, you want to make the show, it's a constant reveal. Who's this new character? It didn't work out with Demeter for Wednesday. It didn't work out with him. His love finally went away, even though he was, half looking forward to spending some time with Demeter. He was spending more time. He was looking forward to spending more time with her money, probably, towards his war. But that hasn't gone too well either. And then he has the meeting, with Tyr finally turns against him and kidnaps Shadow, and he has to resort to whatever. He has the godly fight with Tyr. And then he's like, nothing's happening Wednesday, which is why I think you find him in that he summons he summons Cordelia to meet him in the restaurant, and he's depressed. It's like saying he's come to a decision. It's like saying, I'm going to finish this and then see if my son lives up to my expectations of him in episode 10. I mean, I'm talking about, this is Wednesday's view of the book. This is not the overall viewer's book. I mean, you've got all the other things happening with Hinzelman in the town. I'm glad they made Hinzelman a woman. Hinzelman was a man in the book, but I think it was much more interesting. We talked about that, making it a woman in the eventual, because it's, as you say, making a woman the source of matricide is much more powerful. A woman killing children than men.
Well, you don't expect that from.
No, you don't. You really don't. Yeah, that's why I mean it's so much more. Even though she's a monster, it was more of it's more shocking in a way. And you got all this other stuff going on. But the main source of it is, and then Wednesday, and she turns up to kill Wednesday, which is quite right because he killed her in the first place. So why shouldn't she have her revenge?
That's how I felt about it. Everyone else.
No, maybe he's planned it. He said, I mean, he planned it. The original thing was, I'd love to have my son, but he's got a wife. I got to get rid of the wife. And he got rid of the wife, through the leprechaun, who they formed a relationship with, which wasn't in the book either. So there's been some really interesting developments outside of the book, but going back to the book as a blueprint for taking off again has been fascinating too. But this is when it goes back to the idea that, Wednesday, this comes to the crux. There's got to be some kind of end to this war. Will this war happen or won't it? No, it ain't going to. So Wednesday is going to sacrifice himself and see if his son, in order for Wednesday to be born again, will his son sacrifice himself? We shall see. Tune in to episode 10 next week on your...
I mean, it made for a very interesting scene between you and Crispin Glover's Mr. World. Seeing
and
the two
Peter Stormare. Peter Stormare. Well, we always said that if you're going to have a scene with three not bad actors in it, let them write a big scene for them and let them chew the wallpaper together.
Yeah, absolutely. And
absolutely, yeah. Then it ends with yeah, absolutely. Because Peter, I mean, I love the fact they're such terrific actors to work with, and so is. I mean, yeah, it's great. It was great doing that scene.
I mean, they were all of you were so wonderful to see on screen in that scene, and for the rest of season 3. I can't wait for episode 10 for people to see the conclusion to season 3. You've just done such a wonderful job acting this entire time as Mr. Wednesday Odin, crafting the cons, to just pretty much fool everyone. But Ian, before we wrap up everything and I let you go back to stunning California, I, of course, have to ask, I would not be doing my job right if I didn't ask, if you could give us any sort of update on, say, the next John Wick 4.
Oh, I spoke to, Keanu and I are good friends. I spoke to him the other day. I spoke to the director, and they're hoping now, they're writing the script now for Chad told me probably around about maybe like summertime, July. I mean, they're not going to do 4 and 5 again, which is what they announced 2 years. They were going to do 4 and 5 together, or like do a 4 and 5, which they often do. That's just to sort of stake a place in the cinema, sort of saying in 2 years' time, that's when John Wick's going to come out. So no, they'll be doing 4 probably, but I think, maybe July, August, and I think it's going to be mostly in Europe, but they're still working on the script. I mean, again, there's a show which they can have a lot of options for. How do they work that one out, with this Mr. Winston and John Wick, are they, and the Bowery King and whatever. Also a great show to work on,
Well, it's just
Absolutely.
Fabulous. And you play, again, a very... a character who you don't always know what their intentions are. Would you say that that's typically the sort of characters you enjoy playing?
Oh, absolutely. I think so, yeah. Little enigmatic quality going on there. Yeah, well, no, Winston, I always thought that Winston, I mean, the thing is, when, Winston shot John Wick, you go, well, yeah, but he shot him with what is called as a gentleman's gun. And, and I'm sure that he shot him deliberately so he wouldn't kill him. Who knows? Do you think Winston hates John Wick? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Ian,
nobody dislikes Keanu. Nobody can hate Keanu.
You can't hate Keanu. That's just impossible.
You sure as hell can. No, he's a good kid.
Besides American Gods and John Wick, before I let you go, is there anything else that you would like to promote that you have upcoming?
No, I've got a project, a gangster London story, which should be great, an 8-parter, which we're still working on, which could be called The Funeral of Jocko Duff. And there's a movie called American Star, which is possible in India, which I've been working on for a while with a Spanish director, a marvelous director called Gonzalo Lopez Gallego. I did a movie with called Hollow Point a few years ago, which is a sort of an existential hitman drama, but with more to it. It's all set on in the Canary Islands. So who knows? I mean, you're working on things, you're talking about things. Oh, and I've got a project with Keanu as well, which we're not going to talk about, which is a half-hour comedy. I'll leave you with that. That should be intriguing. But I'm saying nothing more.
I respect you staying mum on that. But
staying mum, absolutely.
Ian, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. I can't wait for more American Gods and John Wick and all your other projects. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Di. You have a good weekend, yeah?
Thank you.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.